What's not to like?
Hey, I like it. I like it. We're gonna give people a couple more minutes to get in.
We're just
That is
jamming.
Crazy by Egypt.
What is it?
This is Crazy by I Am Egypt Music. She just joined the chat. That's the artist, I Am Egypt Music.
Oh, really?
I'm glad you liked it. Okay.
Oh,
Do you have your drink, Shane?
I have my gas, and then I have my brakes. So that's.
I like that. Your gas and your brakes.
My brakes are really, it would really be coffee, but really, I'm not gonna do that this late. So.
Well, I have gas.
And then I also have just in case I brought the whole unit.
Yeah, well, I have wine in my cup, but oddly enough, I put a little bit of liquor in my wine. So I'm drinking Stella Rose with a little bit of Crown Peach. It's really good.
That's you're weird.
Sounds weird, right?
Well, it's certainly not tea. Tea with Tia. So that's just a lie, then.
You can pretend it's tea. It looks like tea, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's in the wrong cup. But if it's hot tea, then you're in trouble. But your nails look amazing.
Thank you. I always do something funky with my nails. I love it.
Me too.
Your nails are amazing.
Right? Sick.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to get started. Hello, everyone who's tuning in. My name is Tia. I am your host of Talks with Tia. I'm also the owner and the creator of Tea with Tia. Today, I have another exciting guest. Many of you may not like him.
What?
Some may love him. You know him as Cooper Saxe, author of Power Book Ghost. We have Shane Johnson joining us. How you doing tonight, Shane?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Thank you. Me too. I almost called you Sax. I had to catch.
That's all right. You can call me Sax.
I'm pretty sure you get it all the time.
Well, usually when there's hate involved, it's like, F you, Sax. Yeah, because people don't usually know my real name. My real name is Shane Johnson.
Well, Shane Johnson, aka Sax, the man that everybody loves to hate.
Cooper Andrew Saxe. That's my full character name.
Okay. He has a middle name. That's nice to know. Does he have a birthday too?
I never thought about that. I assumed he was my age.
Okay, and I think that's Professor Milgram just popped in.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Melanie?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. So I hope you're doing good. I'm glad you got your drink. So I'm just want to ask a few, little icebreaker questions to kind of, get to know you just a little bit.
Bring it.
So I want to know, do you make your bed in the morning, Mr. Shane?
That's a good question. Well, I have in my head that the last person out of the bed should make the bed, right? Now, I think my wife is on here right now. So sometimes I help her make the bed. How often do I make? If I make it myself, it's like a treat for her because I don't often make it myself. That being said, when I do make it myself, she comes in and corrects it anyway. So
okay, I see. It's Kelly, right?
It's Keely, yeah, Keely.
Keely, okay. I see. I see Keely comment. She said, "You do not make the bed." Tell the truth now, Shane.
I did tell the truth. Now here, I'm in New York. She's in LA, and I'm in New York right now. So here, I do make the bed, but she laughs at me because half the bed is basically my desk. Like I've got books and clothes and computers and crap on the other half of the bed. So I don't know how I sleep like that, but that's just what ends up happening. And she would hate that.
Okay, so well, despite you don't always make the bed, what is your go-to breakfast food?
Um, well, honestly, I like in the morning, I just usually have coffee and like a protein bar. If I'm lucky, I'll have some eggs and bacon.
And bacon. Mm.
I mean, I try to limit the bacon, but that's what makes it, you know. I could just
Okay.
eat bacon all day.
Well, leads into my next question. If you can choose one food to eat every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's interesting. One food for the rest of my life. First of all, you wouldn't last very long doing that, but you didn't say it was a long, you didn't say it was a long life. If you were just eating one thing, um, I'm gonna have to go with like a burger
Okay.
or steak, like a juicy steak.
Well, at least you'll be full.
Yeah, I
you'll
mean,
be
like
you'll
if
be
somebody, if there's somebody out there that's like celery or corn or something like that, then you know, forget it.
Yeah, I don't think that will last very long.
No,
So, if you had a boat, what would you name it?
a boat.
Hmm.
Hmm. Stormy.
Stormy. You look
Stormy.
like you would name your boat Stormy. So, do you have like a favorite movie or a TV show outside of Power that you just have to watch?
Um, you know, there's a show that a buddy of mine writes for and produces named Brad Kane. If you don't follow him, you should. He's awesome. He's working on a show called Warrior, which is on HBO/Cinemax. It was a Cinemax show. HBO bought Cinemax. It's called Warrior. Bruce Lee came up with the original concept, and they've fleshed it out. His daughter's producing it, Shannon Lee, and
Okay.
it's they've done 2 seasons. They just announced that they're doing a third season, and I love that show. It's it's dynamite. It's dynamite and timely too, I think. So that's what I'm into right now. But I mean, of course, I like Game of Thrones. I like there's a lot of stuff out there that I like. I'm kind of into Westworld right now.
Okay. I couldn't get into Game of Thrones, but maybe I'll give it
No,
another try.
you
Yeah,
don't. You
it
could
was.
once the dragons showed up, you were like, I'm out.
I got through the first couple episodes, but I was having a hard time following it.
Well,
It's
with
all good.
for my wife,
I,
she's not into it. But when Jason Momoa shows up, she's like, hold on a sec, let's just watch this episode. J- Jason Momoa.
so I heard you say that your wife is currently in LA. So is that home?
Yeah, yeah. I live in Los Angeles. I have a wife and two boys out there.
Okay. So what's a typical day with your family? Like, what do you guys do for fun when you are home?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, they're in school, and but it's been interesting with COVID and all that because we were all together for several months, and so that was pretty cool. Um, you know, we like to right now, my little guy wants to be on the trampoline all the time. And so
Oh,
I gotta like so that's, you know, hard on my back, but I gotta get on the trampoline with him. And then my older son plays like Fortnite all the time, so he wants to be doing that. And my wife and I, we want to just like chill, you know, get in the
yeah.
pool, get in the hot tub,
So
sleep.
just very laid back.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty laid back. If you were like, oh yeah, I like to climb mountains or something, if you were looking for that, then that's no, no, I'm not into
Hey,
those.
I'm just here to find out about Shane and behind the character because we see you on TV. You kind of want
I
to just
want I want to be really I see people who are like incredibly ambitious, especially on Instagram, because that's all you see, right? Is like
right.
everybody's just 100% like all the time every day and you're like, "Gee, how do I keep up with this shit?" But and I want to be like that. Like I would love to be like The Rock, who's just nonstop. He's like with his family, and then he's like in another country shooting a movie, and then he's releasing some new product. He's hosting a show. His movies, 10 movies coming out. It's like I don't know how the heck when does he sleep? You know, for me. I feel like I don't have any time, and I only have like a third of what he has going on, even if that.
Hey, he finds the time for it. So, what was your childhood like? Did you grow up as the only child? Was you a class clown? Because you seem to be a comedian in real life. So,
Um, I have three brothers,
okay.
and I'm second, and I have an older brother and Jake and two little guys. Little, we're all in our 40s now, but Matt and Ty. And I'm from a little farm town up in Washington State, so I grew up in these tiny little towns with like three stoplights. And then for a while, I lived on a farm. We didn't really do much farming, but it was a farm. Um, and and yeah, pretty simple, rural, which is a very hard word to say. Um, upbringing. Played baseball and you know tried to look in dirty magazines, stuff like that.
The typical kid.
Yeah,
Typical
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
So, I want to go back to the beginning. How did your career get started? Everybody has that beginning story. So can you just take us back to the beginning? How did you get into your career?
Um, I had I just think I always, when I was a kid, I always liked to entertain, and I had I didn't know what that meant. I just liked to entertain and make people laugh, and I was doing silly little crappy impersonations and stuff as a kid, and people were entertained by it. So I think I was kind of had a knack for it then. And then when I was about 13, I started doing plays in high school. And the first thing I ever did was I played Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And and it's funny because I felt like a rock star. I mean, you have to remember, I'm in this little farm town. We sold out, so it was like 100 people there or something, And the girls just like loved it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing! Like everybody's the response to this. But I've seen tapes of it, and I was terrible. But at the time, it just felt like I was on top of the world, and it was. And then as time progressed, I think I really got into the craft of it and fell in love with it, and I got a scholarship to go study it and studied in London, and that's where I booked my first like paying gig,
Wow.
and um, and that was a long time ago,
Okay,
like
so can you tell us just a little
1996.
bit about your work as a producer? I know you did some writing and you do animation, so can we just know a little bit more about that?
Yeah, yeah. There was a time, I've always been into writing and producing my own material, and you may know this. It's really hard to get things off the ground and get things out there, but we've seen a few things through to the end, and that's really rewarding and really exciting. Still trying to find distribution for some things, but did a Western a few years ago that we were really proud of. Did a project with my wife, Keely, who's an incredible actress, um,
Wow.
and a handful of years ago that turned out great. And then, with the animation thing, I had this concept for an animated TV series that I just loved, and I still do. I'm still trying to find a home for it. Because anybody that's seen it is like, oh, this is like fantastic. Um, and I wanted to do a proof of concept and have it actually animated, right? A lot of that stuff's done in South Korea, and
Okay.
so I priced it out. And at the time, I didn't have really any money. I priced it out, and it was like $250,000 to animate like 20 minutes of material. And I was
Wow.
like, well, that's not going to happen. And so I spent like a year training and really teaching myself how to animate, and I just fell in love with it. And it's really pretty freeing because you can tell any story that you want with animation. And I have a few projects coming up, um, and some interesting things potentially in the Power universe that involve animation, which I think are going to be a lot of fun. Um, and my wife and I wrote an animated feature that's being produced out of India
Wow.
that is in process right now, which is just a beautiful story. It's really kind of like a buddy comedy love story thing, but it's
That's really
animated.
dope.
It's great. It's great, and I hope that it like comes together the way that we have it in our heads, because it's just such a great story. So yeah, I have, all those other things that, you got to have irons in the fire, and it's easy to kind of get lulled into the comfort of having a steady gig, and I gotta, you gotta just fight that, and to create outside of the power. For me, it's like I have power right now, and I've had it for 8 years, but trying to keep these other things going.
Years.
8 years, yeah, it's crazy.
Sheesh.
What's really
Wow.
wild, what's really wild to think about is when I started this in 2013, um, my kids were like 2 or 3 and about 5, and now they're 14 and 11. And so
Wow.
they've like I have a
Grew
kid
up.
going into I have a kid going who was in kindergarten, who's now he's going into high school. It's
That's
crazy,
yeah, it is
you
crazy
know.
when you look at it that way.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's nuts.
is there anything that you know now as an actor that you wish you knew before you became an actor?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Okay. No,
I was
of
gonna say
course.
nothing.
No, not a thing. Nothing. I don't know anything now, let's be honest. Um, yeah, I think the thing that I would try to impress upon young Shane, or any young artist, actor, or artist, by the way, of any kind, because there's artist brain, which is, to me, the most precious, beautiful thing on earth. But at the same time, a lot of times we have a hard time confronting the business of art, because we feel like business and art don't belong together,
Right.
right? Because when you're in the creative process, or you're creating something, and something's bubbling up from your soul and your spirit, or you're wanting to really craft a moment, or a painting, or something on stage, or whatever it is, you don't want to be thinking about like, well, how much am I getting paid for this? And
Hmm.
well, is this going to lead to other opportunities? It seems like the wrong thing to put on something that's pure. But I would impress upon young Shane and all young artists that you have to compartmentalize, like keep that as pure as you can, and then put on your business hat, and be a business person, because that's okay. And it's the way that we get compensated for what we're passionate about. And you deserve to be compensated and taken care
Hmm.
of by what you're producing and what you're putting out into the world, right?
Right.
This is what you if this is your thing, this is what you love doing, and you should be like killing it, and not having to think about like, how am I gonna, pay my car insurance. Let's, and historically, artists used to be, like, they'd be taken care of by royalty.
Hmm.
They were the players or whatever. They worked for, and then there were troops that would just go around the countryside and like beg for money, basically. And that's just like, we don't deserve that. We're
Right.
changing. We're changing culture. We're creating culture, and we're commenting on rights and wrongs, and people are really affected. If you don't have art, what do you have?
Right.
You
And
know.
just really quick, you guys, I see the comments, the questions in the comments. I don't want to miss any. It's kind of hard to read the comments and listen. I can't multitask like
I'm not
that.
reading anything. Am I supposed to be
So if
reading?
you guys see the
Hmm.
little question mark box, I want you to drop your questions in the box. At towards the end, after we're done talking about power, I will call on some of you to ask Shane the question that you have. So put it in the question box. There's a little question mark thingy at the bottom. Click on that. Put your question in there, and we will get to you. Okay. All right. So, is it hard for you to remember your lines?
No, no.
Not at
You
all.
know, it's funny, because a lot of people. It's funny. It's like a lot of people who aren't actors, that's the thing that they think of, like, oh, I couldn't remember all those lines. I don't know how you would. And it's like that's like the least of your concern. Because if you focus on the communication, like what is transpiring in the scene, like if I'm if you and I are on a date and we're trying to like, I'm trying to kind of like feel you out for how you, like, if you're interested, then that's what I have to have in my head. I don't be thinking about like, and then she says this and I'm listening and okay, and then this is my line. It's like if you base it off of
The
the
scene.
the scene and the theme and the
Yeah.
story of the scene, great writers like we have on our show, the dialogue really should kind of bubble up out of the motivation of the scene. And so it
Right.
becomes, if you focus on that, like why am I here? Why am I doing this? The lines become pretty easy, you know. And the other thing
Okay.
you have to remember is you have to remember this too. It may seem like a lot of lines
Does.
sometimes, but the truth is we're filming, you know, a handful of pages a day. You know, so at most you got a couple pages of dialogue or something.
Okay, so you remember a little bit at a time.
Yeah, and then
That
you dump it. So you know, you scene's over and that's a wrap on that scene and you're like
hey.
ah,
Tommy's in the building. He
that's
said he
right.
likes your haircut.
Oh, Joe, my man Joe,
What's
out there killing it,
up?
I bet in Chicago. Chicago,
We
getting ready for
love
Force.
Tommy.
Getting ready for Force. I love it.
Right. We're going to get all into Power. Right before we jump into Power, I definitely just wanted to talk about the possession of Michael King. So I
Ooh.
ran across,
Ooh.
yeah, I ran across the trailer. Now I got to pray about watching the movie now. I haven't seen the movie, but I did watch the trailer.
And
So
how was the trailer?
it freaked me out.
Yeah.
So can you just really quick just tell us how that experience was for you, and did you have like nightmares? Did you have to see a therapist? Because I always wonder, like, when you do crazy movies like that, does that not like affect like the way you see things? You know, just kind of curious.
Yeah, so for those of you that haven't seen the movie, which is probably the majority of you, let's be honest, first of all, go see it because it's awesome. One of my proudest moments as an actor is the possession of Michael King. I played possession. No, I play Michael King. That's right. And so the audition process, first of all, was grueling for this.
Wow.
And the only reason I got this part, I think this is interesting. The only reason I got this part is my buddy Sam Yeager, who's great. He was on Parenthood. We'd done a movie together back in like 2002. Great guy, terrific actor, and he he was in there ahead of me. It was down to the two of us. Like it was between he and I to get the job. And he went in there first. I don't think I've ever told him this, but he was going for it so hard. Like it was so intense in there. And I could just because sometimes as when you're auditioning, I hate being able to hear through the walls because it kind of messes with your head hearing another actor.
Right.
But like I couldn't not. I mean, I was the next guy in, so I had to be there, and I was just hearing like what he was doing and how far this guy was going, and it kind of like released in me my inhibitions. I was like, well, shit, if he's doing this, then I got to like let my hair down and just like lay it all on the table. And so I went in and I think the audition was like an hour long. And I mean, I was sweating. I had to stop in the middle of the audition, and be like, hey, can I go? I got to go put some money in the meter because that's how long the audition was. And then I threw my back out in the audition. I had to go see a chiropractor. It was nuts. But anyway, so to answer your question, it was the movie. The theme is this guy has a horrible tragedy happens, which makes him kind of question God, and which
Oh
I think
yeah.
happens with a lot of people. You know, people that have faith and something awful happens, and they're like, if God exists, then how could something like this happen? Like,
Right.
why would God let something like this happen, right? And so he's a documentary filmmaker. He kind of comes up with this idea. It's like, God is bullshit. And so he goes around and basically challenges um, these people that believe in the afterlife and believe in demons and believe in spirits and believe in witchcraft and the occult and God, and he just starts like calling it all out and just like spitting in its face aggressively, and it ends up being possessed,
The
right?
best.
And and it was grueling, and here's what was terrifying. There's this thing about ants in it that and crawling that was really backbreaking and intense. And I literally would have these ants crawling around all over my body in the scene at one point in the movie. And I was home by myself, and this is outside, this is like on a day off. And I woke up like I'd passed out on the couch because I was just wiped out, and I was like covered in ants, like ants
And
crawling
what?
on me. Yeah, in my
Ants?
house, ants, like little ants.
Oh my gosh.
And
You were possessed.
it was so well, no, it was so parallel to the movie
Oh my
that it
Lord.
was like that, it stopped my heart for a minute. And then another thing was, I have a daughter in the movie, and she comes up and she says, "Daddy," she wakes up in the middle of the night. She's like, "Daddy, I had a nightmare. There was this monster in my dream, and I'm like, wait, sweetheart, it's okay, it's okay." She's like, what? Tell me. Well, what did the monster look like? And she goes, "Daddy, it was you, right?"
Oh
And
gosh. Oh yeah, I saw
and
that in the trailer. So
yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah.
scary.
It was terrifying. But
Yeah.
then I'm not shitting you. That night, I'm home after the thing. That night, my my son wakes up and comes out and wakes me up out of bed, wakes me up, and I'm like, "What's up, buddy?" And he's like, "I had a nightmare."
Oh no,
And I
no,
was
no,
like,
no,
"You
no,
know what?
no.
You know
No.
what?" So there were some
No.
things like that I was like, "Man, this is a little intense." And I
I've been
had this
throwing oil, holy oil
and
everywhere.
and I had to say some lines in the movie I'm religious, and I'm a believer in things, and
Right.
certain things. I don't quite know what they look like or what they're called or whatever, and it's not irrelevant. But I feel like when you're taunting, when you taunt something like, "Oh yeah, devil, you're out there, come and get me," like shit like that. I'm like, I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
Cancel,
like no, I don't want to play
cancel.
like that. Your wife
And
said you were very creepy to live with during that time. Yeah, I can believe it. Yeah, no.
so was
So
she.
that say what?
I said, so was she.
So now I'm gonna have to go and look at it. I'm gonna watch it in the daytime.
Mm, yeah.
So, what has been your favorite character so far to play? Is it the obvious one?
Well, I would say that it's funny. I did Michael King like kind of about a year right before I got this. Um, I would say this in the respect that it's because I've had so much time with it. I've had some episodic stuff that I've done, like guest star work that I've done that was really fulfilling and beautiful. But they were like an episode or two.
Right.
So to have something to have 8 seasons to really kind of develop a character that started off arguably fairly one dimensional, you know, like the Thorne and Angela side, pestering her, annoyed that she was, rising up in the ranks and kind of a hindrance to that and being a dick and all
Right.
that kind of stuff, to now kind of like really rounding out and having like duplicity and different ambitions and yin and yang and all that stuff. And I feel like that has been really delicious to kind of find it. And it's funny because you find it after the fact sometimes. Like
Right.
stuff is happening in Ghost that makes me look back at Power and go like, oh, that's why Cooper Saxe has always been like that. Like
Right.
introducing his family, for instance.
Yeah.
Like you go, oh, okay, all that makes sense now. Whereas before I was finding my own motivations and my own reasons for finding stuff. But once the writers, because we're taking cues from each other, the writers are taking cues from me and I'm taking cues from them, and we it just kind of gets more and more complex as time goes on. So that's been really rewarding.
Okay. So Sax is your favorite character.
I mean, yeah, it's the most time I've had with a character, put it that way. And so it's hard not to, and also
All right.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
that makes
honest,
sense.
like Sax has also given me and my family so much. And like I said, I've raised my kids, as Cooper Saxe has raised my kids, so
Yeah.
I can't hate that. And Courtney and the whole team in 50, they've put me on the map, and so it's been so rewarding in so many ways.
So I've seen this question come up many times, and I also have this question. How did you get the role of Cooper Saxe? Like, how did you give us some pointers? You got some people might be watching. They might want to try to figure out how they can maybe audition, but how did you land this role?
Okay, well, interesting little story. You want me to be honest, or should I just
I
make some
want you to
cool?
be honest.
Hold on, let me pour a little bit more
I was about to
bullet.
say you might have to get a refill.
I'm going to be completely honest with you because I think it's maybe worthwhile for people to hear this.